Hello again, everyone. It's good to have you with us for this event. It figures to be an exceptional one that doesn't need any build-up.
$1940, the Roaring Forties. The Bears, in the championship game, they beat the Washington Redskins 73-0, which is to this day, the biggest shellacking that any team has taken in any NFL game.
It's the largest margin of victory, largest amount of points scored by one team,
right?
All rolled into one.
Sorry to you Redskins fans, but your assholes were bleeding every which way but loose.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. City Stadium is not modern day Lambeau Stadium. City Stadium is still around, but it's used as for a high school in the area. So, strike that from the record.
Uses a dairy farm.
Yeah. I'm gonna look up Lambeau Field. You were
1956 as they broke ground on.
But I don't.
Stadium.
Was it called Lambeau Stadium? Lambeau Field?
I think it was from the get-go.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All right. My bad. This guy's like the Elias Sports Bureau.
I think it's the helmet. But anyways, the Bears shellanked the Redskins, beating them 73-0. Here it goes again. George Preston Marshall, the owner of the Redskins, said to the press that the Bears were a bunch of sore losers and crybabies.
He was like a shit talker.
Big time. This guy was a real bitch.
Looked like a Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
One of modern day.
Yeah.
So before the championship game, Hollis had his whole team in the locker room. He pulled out a clipping that had George Preston Marshall's
comments
on it. And it stated, and he stated to the team, "This is what George Preston Marshall thinks about you gentlemen. Now I know you guys are a great team. Now go out there and prove it."
Sounds like the advent of what bulletin board talking area.
That's what I told him. Bulletin board material. Like, hey, here you go. This is what they're talking about. You prove it to me. Like motivation.
When the game ended with the gun going off, the final gun going off, one of the commentators said, "George Preston Marshall just shot himself," which is classic. What do you got going on there?
What year was that?
My iPad
1940.
died.
Okay.
I'm officially dead.
All right. I got a phone here. Look this up because I don't have the whole story, but in 1940 to 41, and my notes say use iPad here, so that's why I know I got to use the iPad. It's the third incarnation of the AFL.
Oh, before my thing died, I did look it up. It is the third incarnation.
Yeah. The Bengals, who we talked about earlier, came over. They some of the other teams were the Columbus Bullies, the Milwaukee Chiefs.
Columbus Bullies.
Yeah, that's a great fucking name.
What would you have on the helmet on that?
Well,
like some mean-looking white kid, like fucking going like this to another kid.
My dog's breed is a bully, but that wasn't around back then. So they came from a minor league team that was around, minor league that was around, that they kind of like took that league and made them into a pro league to compete with the NFL. It only lasted a couple of years. That's all I got on them, really. Just another incarnation of the AFL there that didn't last long, a couple of years. I'm sure I can look up a couple things here before you're done with this year, if you want to just hit it. Because it lasted 2 years, so we're around the same time.
Moving on to 1941, the Bears win another championship, playing the New York Giants. The final score was 37-9. It was played on December 21st. Wrigley Field again.
Back-to-back wins.
Yep. There was 13,000 fans in attendance. I think the attendance had to do with a lot, too. This was like in the middle of like the Great Depression, you know? So, you know.
Well, baseball was still king at that time.
It was. And in 1941, I guess like the shit was about to pop off, and we're about to go into like
you had
the Second World War. So
right, you had late December 7, 41 was Pearl Harbor, and then you got into
well,
the
I was
war
going
right
to get
after
into that right here.
Yeah.
In 1941, actually, this championship game was played 2 weeks after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
Shame on you, Japs. The Bears and the Packers both were 10-1.
We lost a subscriber from Japan just now.
The Bears were led by Kevin Kavanaugh, an end from LSU, which was inducted into the College Hall of Fame. Sid Luckman, like Ogre mentioned, was quarterback.
Great quarterback, by the way. Great quarterback.
Hall of Famer.
Who's the first great quarterback?
This guy's name was classic, bro.
Kind of sounds like this guy was the first
I gotta
great quarterback.
say, 22,000 yards, 178 touchdowns. Yeah, man. Because that guy from the Packers, Arnie, whatever his name, Herber, he was 40% completions, 8,000 yards, and he made the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
The Bears had a
this
player.
Guy's name, Sid Luckman actually had Pro Football Hall of Fame numbers.
He has probably like better numbers than Joe Namath.
Joe Namath is a bum.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
He's a bum. I agree.
The Bears had a player, a linebacker by the name of Roy Scooter McLean.
Scooter was a common
Sunshine
nickname back
Scooter. The Redskins, since the total annihilation of the Redskins the year prior in the championship game, the Bears were given the name the Monsters of the Midway.
then. Yeah.
So pretty much in 1940s when they acquired the name, the title, the Monsters of the Midway.
Mostly due to the defense, right?
Right. They had a freaking nasty defense, which pretty much that's always been like the patented, what they've been known for, like the Steelers.
Well, pretty much to win an NFL title, you need a stingy-ass defense.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a prerequisite.
It was running game, defense. Boom, that was it.
I think that still applies today, dude.
Well, the AFL changed that in 1960.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like today, if you get the top defense and a good running game, I don't know if you're winning every year, but you're doing pretty fucking good, dude.
Yeah, I think so.
Because everybody can pass, you know? Everybody can pass a little bit. But not everybody can run and not everybody can defend. So
Yeah, I don't want to get into Caitlin Balaj or whatever his name is.
what a bust, right?
Holy crap, dude. I said Mr. Negative Play every single
What a
time.
bust. Anyways.
What was the
Is he Caitlin Balaj or am I saying it wrong?
He's Caitlin Jenner Balaj, I think is what his name is.
It was the third time. It was the third time the two teams matched up in the championship game. The
Straight.
Bears,
Straight, right? 3 times straight.
right?
Yeah.
The Bears were favored by two touchdowns,
Wow, that's a big
Damn,
spread.
that's a big spread.
and 35,000 fans were expected to attend.
That's not
The hometown Bears kicked 3 field goals in the first half and led the Giants at halftime 9-6. The Giants took the opening drive of the third quarter, but had to settle for a field goal after driving the length of the field. Chicago dominated pretty much the rest of the second half with 4 unanswered TDs. The Bears became the first team in the NFL championship game era since 1933 to win back-to-back titles, and giving the franchise the 5th league title, winning in 27, 32, 33, 40, and 41.
So up to this point, they were up there with the Packers as the big dogs.
Pretty much. You want to call the Packers a big dog, but
I mean, they're
Well, the Packers had 4 at that time, right? I think that's...
they had 3 in your era, and he's already mentioned at least 1.
Yeah, it's 4.
Yeah.
interesting note. Roy Scooter McLean
Is this a different scooter, or is that the same
scooter.
Oh, okay.
did a drop kick, extra point, on the last touchdown that was successful.
I don't get that drop
Hold
kick
on,
thing.
hold
What's
on.
a drop kick,
Oh,
guys? Hold on. What's a drop kick? Anybody know?
Yeah, of course. It's when you drop the ball, it hits off the ground, and you kick it right off the bounce.
So,
Right.
yes.
Which
When's
is
the last
really-
time we saw a drop
We
kick?
saw
Well, I
it
was going to
Doug
get to
Flutie.
that. I was going to ask you, and I have it right here. Scooter McLean will do a successful drop kick in the
He's
last.
just like saying Scooter McLean, I think.
This guy sounds like something out of Cars, the movie Cars, the Disney movie.
Or something you buy to clean your wheels on your car. If you're not using Scooter McLean wheel cleaner, you're not.
Well, this fucking guy's name was awesome. But he was the last successful dropkick in 64 years until January 1st, 2006. New England Patriots.
Douchebag
Holy
did it.
crap! Was that 13 years ago? Really?
It doesn't seem like that long.
No.
Yeah, because Belichick's an old
Douchebag
fucking
Duke
dork. Dude.
Flutie.
Yeah. He's an old dork, and he wanted
Did
to
the
do
old
that
It
shit.
doesn't seem efficient. You got to hit it right off the bounce.
It's really
off the
hard,
floor.
dude.
I don't know, man.
There's a reason they didn't do them anymore, and that's because they were really hard to do. But he did it.
Yeah.
Thanks
Well,
for
moving
bringing
on
up
to
the
1942.
So now we're in the World War II era.
This is right in the heart, the beginning of the Second World War. The Washington Redskins are victorious in the championship game versus the Bears. The final score was 14-6. It was played on December 13th at Washington Griffith Stadium, and there was 36,000 people in attendance. The season record for the Redskins was 10-1. Their head coach was still Roy Flaherty, and they were led by Hall of Fame quarterback Sammy Ball, and Wilbur Moore was their halfback. The Bears had beat the Redskins. The Bears had beat the Redskins early in the summer exhibition game, and the Bears were aiming for their third consecutive title, and were favored by 3 touchdowns.
3.
This was the second title game played at Griffith Stadium. 2 years earlier, the same two teams met, and the fans witnessed the biggest ass whooping.
I'm sorry, I've been drinking. Did you already mention the winner?
Yeah,
Who won the game?
the Redskins.
So they got their revenge.
Yeah,
It's a revenge game.
the Bears were without legendary coach George Halas. As I mentioned, he was a captain in the Navy, so he was overseas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And despite the 3 touchdown favorite forecast, it was a very close game. It was a defensive affair. There was no score in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, Chicago struck with a 52-yard fumble return for a touchdown. At halftime, it was 7-6 with Washington in the lead. In the third quarter, Washington drove, and fullback Andy Farkas punched it in for a 1 yard.
Sounds like a fullback.
A 1 yard run.
Just give it a focus, man. They just need 1 yard.
14-6. The fourth quarter would be scoreless, and Washington would get their redemption from the historical slobber knocker they took 2 years ago.
That's brutal. Oh, at least they got their revenge, man. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to bounce back from that. A lot of teams wouldn't bounce back from that kind of ass whooping in a title game.
That's
Of all
a fucking
things.
hell of
All right,
an
dude.
ass
So we're in World War II, and we're in 1943
1943
here.
Yeah. Slowly but surely getting close to the end. It's a fucking
Yeah, let's try to speed it up because I got a lot of shit too, and you got a lot of
yeah.
shit.
Let me try to sum it up a little bit.
If you're still here, dude, God bless you.
But the Bears win another championship against the Redskins again. So these teams were
Third time in a row.
They were battling back and forth for a while.
So the Bears are the
the Bears
pimps
were,
of the
were
NFL
fucking
at this
juggernauts. The Bears were the juggernauts in the beginning of the NFL. And they beat the Redskins in the 1943 championship game. Final score was 41-21. It was December 26th, the day after Christmas. And it was played in Chicago in Wrigley Field. And there was 34,000 fans in attendance. The season record for the Bears was 8-1-1. Head coaches were Hank Anderson and Luke Johnston because Halas was overseas killing some krauts. But
this is a time when men were men.
A lot of people went into war.
Yeah.
The NFL lost a lot of years.
The only guy that did it not was this guy got killed.
Who?
From the Cardinals.
I was about to mention. Look, no disrespect. I think
it was friendly fire. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
I mean, that's not
fucking-
his fault. Look,
I mean, it wasn't, but dude, come on. I mean,
come on.
all these guys
Oh,
are
yeah,
like heroic
sorry,
fucking guys.
Hold on. Nobody was doing it at the time.
Right.
He did it out of his own. He was a millionaire. Hats off to him. However, he died friendly fire. I mean, that's not his fault. He was trying. His heart was in the right place.
And it was fucked up because the Army first released false reports.
Yeah,
right.
Like it was
And then it came out
So
to his family, and it was
nothing against him. However, I feel I kind of agree with where you were going. We make such a big deal out of him, and dude, this was common. Whatever. This was their duty, dude. Everybody
a lot of these
did it.
guys, I mean, I didn't really do a tally on it, but a lot of these guys wouldn't return.
Yep.
To play because they would fucking either die or come back with missing legs or something.
Yeah,
you know?
It was much bigger than I thought. I know you had talked about it. I thought that was more of a baseball thing.
But there was
it was bigger than I thought.
Yeah, there was a lot of football. So look, man, hats off to Tillman. He did it on his own accord. Nobody else was doing it. I think his brother did it with him. But like a lot of dudes did that in this era, man. It was very common. Maybe mandatory for some of these guys too. Not like they had an option. We had
the population. I mean, the population back then
there was a draft too.
There was a draft.
You would get that letter.
You.
Unless you did a Muhammad Ali, you were gonna go to war.
Another topic.
Yeah. Well,
draft Dr. Ali.
He was a good friend of Ali.
Well, he said it was religion, not to kill.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Cassius Clay.
Back to his mama named him Cassius Clay. I'm gonna call him Cassius Clay. 1943.
That's for the hip hop episode.
Right. 1943. The Bears beat the Redskins. 41-21. I already mentioned. Hallis wasn't present. The owners considered hiatus of the football season actually because of the war. Of course, a lot of them elected not to. The season went on. They reduced the roster sizes from 35 to 25.
Holy shit. You had two-way players all over the place.
Big time.
All over. Which two ways now is not necessarily a good thing. But
because a lot of guys went off to war. You lost a lot of your roster.
Right. It is either...
This is a prop at this stage.
Yeah, let me switch it.
Yeah, let's switch this one so he can... Yeah. So what else happened?
Well, due to the shortage of the players and personnel, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles would merge and become the Steagles.
I've heard about this.
The Pit Phil or Phil Pitt or something like that, right?
No, the Steagles.
Yeah, they went by that name, the Steagles.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And in Chicago, they wanted to merge the Bears and the Cardinals, but they weren't going for that.
There was a team that ceased operations during this time, too. I think the Rams may have ceased operations for a year.
I believe so. George Preston Marshall, again, the fucking guy.
This guy's like Bill Belichick, but without the Super Bowl.
He was against the whole merger, voted against everything, made a big, he had his panties up in a bunch for all this shit. The guy's a real coos.
Oh, that's your drink. Why am I drinking that?
Back to the championship game. Sid Luckman.
I'm getting tired of hearing a Sid Luckman.
Had one of the greatest seasons as a quarterback in NFL history. And certainly the greatest passing season in the history of the NFL in this era. His league average passer rating was 48.5.
Average.
That's terrible.
Sid Luckman's was 107.5. He had 28 TDs and 12 picks.
Unheard of.
Which was impressive, even in today's NFL.
It is.
The Bears averaged 30.3 points per game.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. In a rematch of the previous year's game, the Bears had an impressive O-line anchored by future Hall of Fame center Clyde the Bulldog Turner. Also, Bronco Nagurski had come back from retirement. This is pretty cool. Fucking Hallis actually sent a telegram from a fucking submarine in the Navy. Because I
replaced the Pony Express, right?
Right. No. He sent a telegram from the fucking submarine
telegraph
to Nagurski, offering him whatever money he wanted to come back from retirement to play for the Bears. I guess to seal the running attack, him as a fullback. Well, back to the championship game. Chicago led 14-7 at halftime. Luckman was slinging the rock all over the place in the second half. And the final score ended up to be 41-21. Chicago on top.
The Bears.
The Bears.
So what year are we on now?
1944. Jesus fucking Christ.
All right.
And which was a terrible year, by the way.
Last year of the war.
Not because of that.
Can I interject real quick here?
Sure.
We had another version of the
Please
AFL.
do.
In 19 take a drink, get some ice. 1940. This is gonna be quick, so hurry up. 1944. We got a wartime league. Another AFL. And dude, like you mentioned before, there's lost records. They don't remember who beat who. They ended up merging with the PCPFL.
PCP.
Yeah.
Isn't that a drug?
PCP is a drug. I wish I had some right now. PCPFL, which was like a minor. It was like a minor league during the wartime, and that one lasted from 1940 to 1948. So this version of the AFL ends up merging with that league, which ends up not really being a competitor. And some of those teams ended up becoming like barnstorming teams. Which barnstorming, I didn't know there was that much football. It's basically, I don't know why they even call it barnstorming.
You think more of a baseball team.
Yeah, it was just like a team of like kind of all-stars or like, and they formed and they go around the towns. I guess they played around barns or something. I don't know, where there was fields, and that's where they're barnstorming teams. Here you go. Jim Beam, black aged. So another little AFL, not one of the major ones that's numbered AFL 1, 2, 3, or 4, but another incarnation. I got another one coming up in 1946, but I'll get to that when you get to 1946.
Soon, I hope. 1944, the Packers, bastards.
Are you seeing this? It's cool how that happens there. Like it melts into the ice. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see it from here.
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's like. I might be on PCP. I don't. It's like, what is that? Is that the ice melting into the whiskey?
Yeah, I think that's physical, like ice and how it can.
It's crystallized.
Yeah, well, how like.
What are you, a chemist?
I'm a meth lab.
Hey, you took off your fucking helmet, dude. I
You're
told
out
you
of
not to
character,
do
dude.
that. He started with the mustache shit again. Disappeared.
He's gonna have it on later. All right, let's go. We got a lot to cover. Let's go. This
right.
hourglass already is about to finish. And it finished once.
We're at 45, right?
44.
Oh.
I wish we were at 45. We were 44. With the Packers, cocksuckers, they win this championship against the Giants. The Giants lost a lot of fucking championship games.
Yeah, bro. They're like the Bills of this era almost.
They got a few.
Well, they're not that bad. I think they're going to lose them 4 consecutive.
No, and they won some, but still, they were in there and lost a lot. Because
It was
I got them on my thing.
It was played on December 17th, and the final score was 14-7. It was played at the Polo Grounds in New York City with 46,000 in attendance.
Ooh, that's a big crowd.
Yeah, Green Bay's record was 8-2, and Curly Lambeau was their head coach. Don Hudson led the way for Green Bay. He was the NFL leader in touchdowns for the season. He actually was an NFL record for being the touchdown leader 8 times.
That's what I said.
In his career.
The wide receiver numbers he put up were ridiculous.
Redunculous. Even for a dairy farmer. Ted Frisch, Green Bay's star halfback, was also a tenacious runner. Their quarterback was legendary Arnie Herber, which I've mentioned in the last fucking 10 years, as well as a very dominant defense. On November 19th, during the regular season, the Packers had got shut out by the Giants 24-0. It's funny though how this happened a lot. Like in the championship game, that team had faced each other in the regular season, and the team that loses the championship game, thank you, had lost.
Hey, they had more game film on them.
Right.
Maybe they were playing.
At least he put the fucking helmet on right this time, huh? You like fucking Elmer Fudd last time. Bullshit up.
No, continue.
Oh, thank you. Whoa, don't put that on.
He's going into the modern era.
You become
I don't think
fucking
this fits.
Bronco Nagurski.
Oh,
Yeah, I
man.
think you got
That's
too
a
much.
small helmet.
Yeah.
I think you got too much hair there, Walter. There was scoring. There was scoring in the first quarter. There was no scoring in the first quarter by either team. third quarter, there was also no scoring. It was a very defensive game. I'm sure the 46,000 people in attendance were fucking falling asleep.
As are our viewers.
New York finally scored.
If there is any.
The final score was 14-7 with Green Bay punishing defense, keeping the Giants at bay. This marked the 6th and final league title under Curly Lambeau.
At this point, they already have as many as the Patriots have today.
That will not return. They will not return to a title game for another 16 years. Thank God.
With Lambeau. Lombardi.
Right. 1945. Come on, let's keep it moving, guys.
Let's go.
1945, the Cleveland Rams versus the Washington Redskins. Final score 15-14, December 16th.
Who's the winner?
The Rams won.
Oh, okay. First title for the Rams?
First title. The game was played at Cleveland Stadium. That's pretty original.
What year are we in? I'm sorry?
1945.
Okay, go.
It was played at Cleveland Stadium at Cleveland, Ohio. How original, huh? Cleveland Stadium. There was 32,000 fans in attendance, probably drunk out of their ass, knowing the people in Cleveland. And this was the final year that the Rams would play in Cleveland before they were moved. They would be moved to L.A. in the following season. After a month of the Rams. The Rams were led by.
I'm about to hate you.
Not get into that. The Rams were led by strong-arm quarterback Bob Waterfield, who won the MVP that year.
Hall of Famer, by the way.
Led the year.
Bob Waterfield.
Yep.
Yeah, led the year in passing touchdowns, and was also a future Hall of Famer, like Ogre mentioned. In the championship game, Sammy Ball.
There he is again.
Yeah, this guy was like quarterback for the Redskins for like fucking 20 years. He threw a pass from their own end zone, which ricocheted off the field goal post. This is what I was going to tell you about the field goal post thing. And it was considered a safety. The game went back and forth, blah, blah, blah.
So his own field goal post, obviously.
Right.
He drops back into his own end zone. He throws a pass. Hits
the post, goes out of bounds. It's ruled a safety.
Wow. See, good thing they changed those field goal posts.
So the second half goes back and forth, and the final score being 15-14. The difference was
that
safety.
Oh, look at that.
So here we go again. George Preston Marshall, the fucking bitch, complains about the safety, and they
Come on, man. If the Portsmouth Spartans, that would have happened, you would have been complaining, right?
Never. The people of Detroit never complain. But the people...
They're just used to it by now.
This was called... They actually implemented a rule setting the posts to the back of the end zone instead of being in the actual end zone.
But later they come back, right? At some point,
they brought them back.
Crazy.
And this was called the Ball/Marshall rule. In 1974, the posts were finally moved out of the field of play. So it was actually moved from where they were to like a bit back deeper, I guess, in the end zone. Mm-hmm. But then in 74, they actually moved them completely out of the field.
Yeah, and then they did that fork thing where there's like a pole that goes
that shit looked retarded.
Like forward and then the post. So it's not just a straight up post. It's kind of like I don't know, some type of fork.
Moving on to 1946.
Oh, so they got fucked, man.
Fuck them. Fuck that Preston Marshall guy.
Yeah, he was a dick.
1946, the Bears win it all versus the Giants. And these fucking Giants had the worst luck. The final score was 24-14.
They seem to always be losing to the Bears.
It must have been a tough fucking time to be a fucking Giants fan, man.
No, but you're in the title game at least all the time.
But dude, there's like fucking like 10 teams, 12 teams, 8 teams?
You know what the Dolphins, you know how many people Dolphin fans would kill right now to be in the title game every year, losing it?
Shit, how about Lions fans?
Yeah,
don't be a dick. Final score 24-14. They played the game at New York City Polo Grounds which was 58,000 in attendance. The regular season record was 8-2-1, and the legendary George Halas, had made it back from the war,
alive and well,
killing Krauts. And now he was now he wasn't only the coach, he was the GM and the owner. So he was completely at the helm of the Bears.
As he was in that submarine.
I mean, dude, this guy had fucking balls of steel. You might as well fucking give him the fucking whole team.
Yeah.
The Bears had lost to the Giants in the regular season.
Again, with that scenario.
Right. Every time. This was the 5th and final NFL championship played at the Polo Grounds. So the Polo Grounds were officially, banned after this game. Something that was interesting was that about the bribery scandal. There was a bribery scandal in this year. There was 2 players from the Giants, Frank Filchoke, which is not a good name to have if you're a football player.
No.
Which was the quarterback, and Merle Hapes, which was the fullback.
Look at the shape of the Polo Grounds.
Had been accused.
That's crazy.
They had been accused of taking bribes before the game from Alvin Paris. Who's Alvin Paris, you might ask? Well,
it's in the mafia, right?
I'm glad well, not really the mafia, which I'm sure he probably had ties to the mafia, but he was pretty much a New York bookmaker and a gambler. And he was the front man for a gambling syndicate based out of Elizabeth, New Jersey.
That definitely sounds like a mafia guy to me.
Yeah, pretty much. But these 2 players were interviewed by William O'Dyer, which was the mayor at that time, and one of them denied that he was ever offered a bribe, which the other guy did mention that he was offered a bribe. The one who denied it they let him play. The other guy was suspended. But later, when Paris, the gambling guy, was in his trial, both of them under oath said that they both accepted bribes from this guy. So you figure a quarterback and a fullback, they could do some damage.
And do we know what games they threw?
Well, it was for that championship game.
For that game? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
They were seen with the guy right before the championship game.
And I'm sorry, these guys were on what team?
The Giants.
Wow, look at you. Shame on you. Giants.
And then, go figure, the Giants lose.
That guy, they probably cheated you out of a championship.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Giants and doing fucked up shit, Eli Manning? Did you ever hear about, because I have a collectible store. I don't really deal with memorabilia too much, but I read some of these stories sometimes. Eli Manning got caught in some type of scheme where he was selling game-used memorabilia that was not really game-used. So, and really? there was like Texas going back and forth.
I wouldn't think Eli Manning would do such a thing.
No, you wouldn't think.
Retarded.
You wouldn't think. But he ain't that stupid. So, he would get those texts of him going to the equipment manager. Get me anything that'll pass as game used, even if it's game used. Maybe it's some shit he used in practice or something like that. Right. Anyways, another scumbag.
As long as it has a grass stain on it.
Right, yeah. Brown stained game used underwears. I love Eli Manning, though. He beat the Patriots 2 times in the Super Bowl. I can't really talk too much shit about him, but...
That was pretty bad. He kind of fucking went below the belt. But anyways, the Bears led the first half, and at halftime, the score was 14-7.
Sorry, Eli.
Early in the third quarter, New York scored to make the game. They actually tied the game to 14-all. Luckman scampered for 19 yards to score a touchdown and to go up 21-14. A late Chicago field goal would seal the deal and win the 7th NFL championship for the Bears.
What was the final score in this game?
24-14.
Wow, man. So, if those guys weren't throwing that game, they might win. Because you got 2 dudes throwing the game, and they only lose by 10.
And they were caught, hours before the game was played. So they were, interviewed real quick. One of them definitely lied. The other guy kind of, watered it down.
So before the game, they were interviewed?
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't throw the game.
I mean, one of them was allowed to play, which was the quarterback.
Oh, okay.
So and then later in the trial of the bookmaker guy, it came out they were both on their oath, and I guess as they were both on their oath, they were sweating bullets. They both admitted that they did take bribes from this guy.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Pretty fucking
Did
crazy.
he throw any interceptions? Do you know?
I don't know. But they lost anyway, so.
Is there any stats from this era?
Yeah.
Can you look up the stats from that game? Just to see if he threw any picks.
This is what 40
what?
46.
46 championship game stats?
Yeah,
All right,
it'll be Frank Filchock, which is Filchock.
Kind of sounds like cock.
Like cock. like cock with an H in it.
Yeah. All right, so what are we up to now? What year are we in?
47.
47.
We're getting there.
Let's
We're
go.
getting there.
47. Let's go.
About to have a fucking aneurysm here. 1947. The Chicago Cardinals win finally a fucking different fucking team.
And they're like a founding charter team of the NFL.
Right. They win a championship. And
the oldest franchise.
They play the Philadelphia Eagles, which made their first championship game appearance, which, unluckily for them, they lost, but still. The final score was 28-21.
I wonder if Chuck McNarick was on that team. Probably not, right? It's too early for him.
I'll give you a minute.
All right, go ahead.
But December 28th was when it was played.
We're getting later in the year now when they play this game.
And it wasn't played at Chicago. It wasn't the Cardinals didn't play at Wrigley Field. They played at Comiskey Park in Chicago,
where the White Sox played for many years.
The White Sox played for many years. Well, they remade they tore it down and then they remade it.
There's another Comiskey now. Yeah.
Right. There was 30,000 fans in attendance. You got anything, Ogre? You got something there?
No, I got scoring summaries, trying to find something on it's really...
Yeah, it's
difficult.
Yeah.
The regular season record was 9-3, and the head coach was Jimmy Konzelman. The Cardinals were led by what people called the $1 million backfield. Paul Christensen, quarterback. Charlie Trippi,
Hall of Famer,
which was a future Hall of Famer, running back. Elmer Angsman,
another Elmer,
running back, and Pat Horter, which is like probably related to my mother-in-law. Tremendous Horter, fullback.
A lot of Elmers. It's like Maddie back in the Wild West,
or Mordecai.
You with the fucking Mordecai thing, bro. They were the league scoring.
I want a whore. Who's available?
They were the league scoring leaders with 102 points, and Pat Horter, the fullback, was the league scoring leader.
Fullback, Pat Horter.
102 points, and also set an NFL record for most field goals made in a game with 7.
Ooh.
So Pat Horter was not only a fullback,
that's a lot of
but
fucking
he was the
fantasy points out of your kicker, dude. If he gets 7 field goals,
you fucking draft this guy in fantasy. This guy's money. This was the first championship game, like I mentioned, for both of these teams, and the only championship game ever to be played at Comiskey Park. And it was the only title won by the Cardinals in the whole history until later. In 2008, they made it to the Super Bowl, lost.
This is their only championship ever?
Ever.
Oh, that's terrible.
Wait a second.
Ever.
Sure about that?
Yes, ever.
I mean, you got a...
I got them winning in 25.
Or maybe it's their last.
Yeah, in my era, I got them winning in 25.
Maybe they were... they were still Chicago.
Yeah, that's what it might be. Wait, no, they were Chicago.
Yeah, they were Chicago. Maybe it's their last. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, Cardinals are listed as the 25 NFL champions.
It's weird how they word that, right?
Yeah, it's because of all this voting shit. And there was controversy, apparently, right?
You see that? So there's controversy. Maybe one of those voting things. So how many championships are really attributed to them, though?
This one is attributed to them.
One, the one he's talking about.
Right.
Well, I don't think that was legit. Because according to my research, this was the only championship game that they won. And then there's the one in 2008.
Well, because there was no championship games at that point.
There
wasn't. It was up to a vote.
Right.
And there was a controversy in 25 in that another team added a game to their schedule. And that was what you were talking about, and here it surfaces.
The point I'm making is it's fucked up. This is one of the original franchises, and they have one clear-cut title. Two, if you want to count the controversy.
So in championship games, they're pretty much 1-1. They won this title in 1947, which is their only win. And then they lost in 2008 with Kurt Warner to the Steelers.
Yeah. When you're done with that one, I'm going to jump in a second.
Sure.
It's just a second, though. But I'll let you wrap that
Go
one.
ahead, man. Go ahead.
You done with that one?
Almost.
Okay, go.
It was a close battle. Philly scored in the fourth quarter and led only by a touchdown. But it was too little, too late, as Philly ran out of time. The final score was 28-21.
Close game. All right, I'll let you wet your whistle there for a second. We have another AFL in 1946, which I think was the previous year you did. Right, it lasted 4 years, 46-50. This was a more harmonious association with the NFL because it was mainly
harmonious?
It was more like a minor league to the NFL.
This was AAFC,
yes,
right?
that chair is your nemesis. Huh?
This was
it was an AFL. Just an AFL that lasted from 46 to 50, and it was really legitimately more like a minor league for the NFL. Players would get farmed out of there. They weren't trying to compete with them, but they were also named the AFL, so I thought interesting to note them. Okay, boom. We're going to 1948. 48. All right.
There.
You got 4 more years, I think.
The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Chicago Cardinals. This time, the Eagles come out on top.
This is, again, the rematch. A lot of rematches.
The final score was 7-0.
Oh, wow.
And it was played on December 19th, 1948. They played at Philadelphia at Shibe Park, and 36,000 fans attended the championship game. The regular season record was 9-2-1. Their head coach was Earl Greasy Neal. His nickname was Greasy.
No relation to Bob.
No. This being a rematch of the 1947 season finale, the Eagles would barely pull this off, giving them their first championship. So now the Cardinals won their first championship in 47.
Wait. Greasy Neal?
Yes. Not Nail. Greasy Neal.
No, Neal.
Neal, yeah.
Still just
like
bad.
Neil Diamond.
What's the name of that scientist? Tyson DeGrassi.
DeGrassi.
Neil Tyson DeGrassi.
Yeah.
Well, this game was played under horrific conditions.
Balmy conditions.
It was 27
Broken
degrees Fahrenheit. It was 27 degrees Fahrenheit.
Out for the season.
And it was snowing all day. By the time kickoff, it was 4 inches of snow on the field. This game was called the Philly Blizzard, is what they named this game. Obviously, because of the conditions, this was all running. There wasn't much passing. There was no scoring throughout the whole game until the fourth quarter, when Steve Van Buren, running back and future Hall of Famer, scored a 5-yard run for the Eagles, making it 7-0. And that was pretty much the only score in the whole game.
You watch those replays of that game, and they're wearing shiny clothing. What is that, bro? What material is that? Like, it's shiny.
Probably like nylon or something.
Yeah, I don't know. All right,
some cheap shit.
There's a word for it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But
rayon.
Yeah.
Eagles owner Lex Thompson, at age 37. Well, this is just a little factoid.
It's a young owner.
Yeah, he was the owner of the Eagles, and he couldn't attend the championship game because he was nearly dying in the hospital of appendicitis.
Dude, I was gonna say that.
Really?
Yeah, like what could he be dying of at 37, right? 37?
Oh, listen, I'm gonna change your name to Walter. Stop that now.
Soothsayer.
1949. Come on, baby, we're almost there.
Are you in 49 right now?
Yes.
All right.
Please jump in and say something.
You want me to jump in? All right. 1946 through 49, we have. This is not an AFL incarnation, but it's the AAFC, the All-American Football Conference.
Right.
And this was definitely an NFL competitor. 3 teams ended up joining the NFL. The Browns with Otto Graham, which ended up being 4-time champions of this league, which was one of the problems of this league, really. A lot of these leagues had one dominant team, which ends up kind of making it kind of like the NFL today with these Patriots.
The Browns won all 4 titles, right?
They won all 4 titles with Otto Graham. So the Browns, the Niners, and the original Baltimore Colts, who no relation to the current day Baltimore or current day Indianapolis Colts or even current day Baltimore Ravens, they transferred over to the NFL. Those 3 franchises: Browns, Niners, Colts. Baltimore Colts ended up lasting only 1 year, and they folded. One of the things that made this AAFC kind of successful, they ran for 4 years, which is one of the longer running of these competitors to this date. One of the editors of the editor of the Chicago Tribune was one of the founders, so they were guaranteed good coverage in the papers, which is something some of those other leagues didn't have. They also had a guy by the name of Arch Ward, who was the originator of the MLB All-Star Game, was involved. They had a lot of owners with money, people who had been denied, and again, it's like a recurring theme, people who had been denied membership to an NFL franchise. They end up saying, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to open my own league. Right. So these dudes had money to burn. They were denied NFL franchises. Their commissioner was Jim Crowley, which was one of Notre Dame's 4 horsemen. I'm sure you guys have heard of the 4 horsemen from Notre Dame, like their famous backfield, right, which is kind of interesting because the NFL commissioner at that time was also, his name was Elmer Layden. I don't know, this is another Elmer. I don't know if it's one of the Elmers we've mentioned already before.
Elmer Glue.
He was also one of the 4 horsemen under Newt Rockne. Another great football name.
Blue Horse?
Yeah.
Makes all sense.
Buffalo, Chicago, Cleveland, LA, New York, San Francisco, Brooklyn, and Miami was one of the teams.
Miami
Seahawks. Paul Brown, I have a note here about Paul Brown. He was supposed to do something, but he had to wait 1 year because of World War II. So I think Paul Brown was going to be involved. Or no, he was involved. Okay, I have no idea why I'm saying that. And I'm just Jim Beam talking right there. I don't remember. One thing about the NFL, one of the things they said was get a ball first and then start a league. So they were making fun of these people.
Right. Which was one of the main one was
George Preston
Marshall.
He hated them. He said,
guy, man.
Here's one of his comments. He said, I didn't know there was another league, but I heard there was a WPA project. And the WPA project was basically a project done by unskilled laborers at the time. So he was just kind of taking a jab at them.
The whole get a ball and get a league or something. You had mentioned it.
Yeah. So that he's the guy who said that.
I think is what it is.
Yeah, I think when the Browns came to the NFL, he said the weakest or the worst NFL team will toy with the Browns,
right?
Because the AFL is not the talent level over there is not the same caliber as the NFL.
But he was wrong, and one of the reasons that this league kind of did as good as it was is because there was a surplus of talent coming back from the war at that time. So guys who had been lost to the war, or guys whose college eligibility had run out but went to war, were sort of like free agents. So it was kind of like a surplus of talent. The AAFC ended up getting 40 of 66 college All-Stars, a couple of Heisman Trophy winners. They were, and college, you mentioned it before, it was more popular. Are you drunk already, dude? They were more popular at the time.
This guy's giggling like a schoolgirl.
The college football is popular all the way to 58. 58, the game changed.
The Tom Landry was what was Tom Landry here? I don't know. I think he was a player here. Tom Landry was a player in this league. There was a dude named Dan Tupping. He pulled the Brooklyn Tigers out of the NFL to join this league. That was one of the first things that brought them some legitimacy, was that they were able to get an NFL team to get them out there. I got the Rams involved in this team. I know you mentioned them already before, but for some reason I have the Rams involved in this league when they went from Cleveland.
It's got to be a different variation of it.
Yeah. There was no draft. And this is why Paul Brown and the Browns dominated this. There was no draft. Everybody was a free agent, and that's why the Browns with Paul Brown's reputation, they ended up dominating this.
45 was the final year. 45 was the final year that the Rams played in Cleveland. Then they were moved to LA.
Well, you think about it. You're undrafted. Who would you sign with? Would you sign with the Browns?
But I think the Rams were an original AAFC team. Have you already mentioned them in one of your title games?
They won. They were the Cleveland Rams.
Right.
Why do I have them in the AAFC?
It's got to be another version.
I'm going to look that up when I'm done.
Yeah, because in 45, the Cleveland Rams beat the Washington Redskins.
But in this case,
then they became the LA Rams.
The rich always got richer, because when the undrafted free agent would sign, would you sign with the Cleveland Browns or the Los Angeles Dons?
Right. Miami Seahawks, 1946, first major league franchise in Miami.
3-11.
3-11. They that was their only season. They reorganized into the original Baltimore Colts. They played in Burdine Stadium, which is currently, it's not known as anything today.
Burdine's?
Yeah,
Burdine
Stadium.
It's Macy's now.
Yeah, well, it ain't shit now, because it used to be the Orange Bowl, and it was. My notes say use iPad, and I didn't, but I should have. So that's the AAFC. The Browns dominated for 4 years, basically. They later moved into the NFL. Okay, so now we have 1949. What's going on in 1949?
Oh, glad you asked. Philadelphia Eagles win the championship game against the LA Rams, not the Cleveland Rams, but the LA Rams now. The final score was 14-0. It was played on December 18th. It was played at LA Memorial Coliseum. There was 27,000 fans in attendance. This was the Eagles' second championship game that they win, second title. Their regular season
was
record
Chuck Bednarik there?
I
know I ask this every time.
I know he was in the 60 championship game.
The season record was 11-1, and Earl Greasy Neal was the head coach.
He's back again.
Yeah. Well, Philly was the defending champs, and they had won the championship the previous year. It had been raining all day. These guys always get like the worst championship games, Philadelphia. First they had the blizzard, and now they have the mud bowl. It's been raining all day, and which is pretty uncommon in the West Coast.
Chuck Bednarik was a rookie in 1949, so he had to have been on the
He was the number one overall pick in the 49
look
draft.
at
that. Right. It was pretty uncommon for the West Coast for it to be raining all day, but it was. So the field was pretty much a giant mud pit. This was the first NFL game that was broadcasted on television, although it was only broadcasted in the West Coast.
How about Philly? They get screwed?
Yeah. Fuck Philly. Coach Greasy Neal did not like to fly, so the Eagles took a train to the West Coast. The Eagles were led by Steve Van Buren, running back, which is a Hall of Famer, quarterback Tommy Thompson, and Leo Scadolny, defensive end.
Leo Scadolny.
Yeah, you could definitely...
I'm sorry, can I just cut in for a second?
Sure.
Backtracking. Cleveland Rams. They played in the Second American Football League. That's why I have them in my notes. For the 1936 season. And in the National Football League from 37 to 45, winning the National Football Championship in 1945 before moving to LA for 1946. It's the only NFL champion ever to play the following season in another city. That's the story of the Rams there.
Cool. It was obviously a ground game because of the weather conditions. The halfback for the Eagles, Van Buren, although he didn't score a TD, he rushed for 196 yards in the game in 31 carries, which is pretty damn good. Those are like college stats. At halftime, the Eagles led by 7. In the third quarter, the Eagles would block a punt and return it for a touchdown. And this would pretty much end the game, as the Rams would never get on the board and were embarrassed at home. So that pretty much sums up the 1949 championship game.
That's
all right.
3 decades of football.
That's a lot of football, guys. If you watch the whole thing, man, for real, I'm going to give you a prize. I don't think I'm going to watch it. We're going to cut it there, man. I know we said
T-shirt that says I'm an asshole.
Yeah. We were going to do through 1959. We're going to save that for next video.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Watch the next video. It's going to be out real soon, which is going to take us from 1950 through 69 and the AFL. Lots of fun, lots of football. All right, that's all we got, right?
Do it.